Brought to you by DiceyGoblin.com, online board game retailer, where every board game is an award-winning board game. Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're bringing you a final card close-up for Mage Knight, except this is technically a token close-up because we're going to be looking at the enemy tokens. You see all the enemies you're going to face, as well as the ruins that you can explore in Mage Knight. Without anything else, let's get right into it. First, we will start with the Orc cons, which are generally the easiest enemies you'll fight in the game. And now you're going to have 12 of these tokens in the game as well. And first off are the Prowlers. Now there's 2 of these in the stack of tokens. You can see they have 3 armor. They will deal 4 damage and they're worth 2 fame. Next up, we've got the Diggers, who are fortified even though they have less armor, because obviously they're digging in trenches or foxholes or something, so they're fortified. They're going to deal 3 damage, and they're also worth 2 fame, and there are 2 of those in the stack. Here we have the Cursed Hags. They have 5 armor. They're going to deal 3 damage, and they have poison, so every damage or every wound you gain from them is going to go 1 wound in your hand and then 1 wound in your deck to show up later. And there are 2 Cursed Hags. Here we've got the Wolf Riders with 4 armor. They deal 3 damage. They also have the Swift ability, which means to block them, you're going to actually need 6 block instead of 3. And they're worth 3 fame. There's 2 of those in the stack. Here we've got the Ironclads, and there are 2 of these in the stack. You can see they have 3 armor with physical resistance. And then they're going to deal 4 damage. They also have the Brutal ability, which means that if you don't generate 4 block to block them or block them some other way, then you're going to end up they're going to deal 8 damage to whoever they hit. And they're worth 4 fame. And the final Orc con is the Summoner, the Orc Summoner. And he has 4 armor. He's going to summon a brown enemy, one of the dungeon enemies, and he's worth 4 fame. Next up, we've got the gray enemies, which are primarily found in keeps. This right here is the crossbowmen. There are 3 of these in the stack. This one all the crossbowmen have 4 armor. They deal 4 damage. They have the swift ability, and they will give you 3 fame. Moving on, we've got the guardsmen, 7 armor, and they're fortified. So keep in mind that means that if they are fortified and then also in a keep which provides the fortification ability already, then you can't use range or siege attack against these guys during that initial phase of combat, the range and siege attack phase. So something to keep in mind. They're only going to deal 3 damage and they're worth 3 fame. There are 3 of them in the stack. Up next we have the swordsmen. 5 armor, 6 damage, and worth 4 fame. There's 2 of those in the stack. And then we've got the golems. 2 of these in the stack. 5 armor with physical resistance, but they only deal 2 damage, so that's not horrible. Worth 4 fame. Next up are the purple enemies. You're going to find these primarily in mage towers. They also show up in monasteries if you try to burn a monastery down. This first one is the not the cursed hag. This is the monk. 5 armor, 5 damage. They also have the poison ability. They give you 4 fame when you defeat them, and there are 2 of these in the stack. And the stack itself has 10 total different purple enemies. Or 10 total enemy tokens, purple enemy tokens. This right here is the Illusionist. 3 armor with physical resistance. They're going to summon a brown dungeon enemy, and they have 4 fame when you defeat them, or they provide you with 4 fame. Next up, we have the Ice Mages. 6 armor with ice resistance, which makes sense. And they also have 5 ice attack, and they're going to provide you with 5 fame for defeating them. And there's 2 of those. We've got 1 ice golem in the stack, 4 armor with ice and physical resistance. They also have 2 ice damage. They have paralysis, which is not something we'd seen up at this point. But basically, if this deals damage to an enemy or to one of your units, it's going to automatically kill your unit, and it's gone, as opposed to just taking a wound. If it deals damage to you, and that is to say, if it deals a wound to you, then it will actually force you to discard all the non-wound cards currently in your hand. It also provides you with 5 fame if you beat it. Here we've got the Fire Mage, 5 armor, and fire resistance, and then fire attack of 6 and 5 fame. There's 2 of these guys in the stack, and then we have 1 Fire Golem, 4 armor, fire and physical resistance, 3 fire attack with brutal, and 5 fame. Up next, we've got the brown enemies that have the dungeon symbol on the back. And the first one up is the Minotaur, 5 armor, 5 damage. It also has brutal, so that means it's going to be dealing 10 damage if he makes it through your block, and provide 4 fame. Now, there are 2 Minotaurs in the stack, and there are 10 total monsters in this stack. Here is the Gargoyle, 4 armor with physical resistance, deals 5 damage, and provides 4 fame when you defeat it. Here we've got Medusa, 4 armor, 6 damage with paralysis, and provides 5 fame for defeating her. This is a Crypt Worm, a pretty ugly looking monster here. It looks like something from the movie Tremors, except worse. 6 armor with fortification automatically, and then it deals 6 damage. I suppose that fortification comes because it's tunneling underground or whatever to get to you. And gives you 5 fame if you defeat it. And this baddie right here, the Werewolf, 5 armor, 7 damage. It has swift and provides you with 5 fame. Real quick, I want to bring your attention back to the Minotaur. This guy is particularly dangerous early in the game before you've leveled up a whole lot. And the reason for that is with that 5 damage with brutal, you start the game with 2 armor and a 5 card hand limit. Now, if this guy goes unblocked and he hits you, he's going to be dealing 10 damage. 10 divided by 2 is 5, which means that you have taken your hand limit in wounds. And if that happens, you're knocked out, and it is not a good way to start the game. So something to keep in mind when going up against dungeon enemies. All right, next up we have the white colored enemies. And these guys you're going to find pretty much only in cities. And here we've got the the freezer is what this guy is called. 7 armor, fire resistance, deals 3 ice damage, gives you 7 fame, but look, he has paralysis and swift. This guy is no fun to go up against. There are 3 of these in the stack, 10 tiles or 10 tokens total in the stack. Here we've got a gunner. 6 armor with ice resistance. He deals 6 fire damage and has brutal, and gives you 7 fame if you defeat him. There's 3 of those guys as well. Here we have the Altum Guardsmen. They have fortification, 7 armor, fire, ice, and physical resistance. They deal 6 damage. They give you 8 fame for beating him, and you will earn that 8 fame. Here we have the Altum Mages. You've got, by the way, there were 2 Altum Guardsmen. There's also 2 Altum Mages in the stack. 8 armor with fortification and physical resistance. Cold fire attack. This is the first cold fire attack we've seen in all of these bad guys so far. He has both brutal and poison, which is a terrible combination. Gives you 8 fame for defeating him. And finally, we've got the Dracona, who are the other rampaging enemy in the game. So the Orcs are the one rampaging enemy, which are the weakest enemies you're going to fight. And then the Dracona, who are most of the time the most difficult that you're going to fight. This one right here is a swamp dragon. Now, there are 8 dragons total in the stack of Dracona. There are 2 of these. Actually, there's 2 of each of these. So the swamp dragon has 9 armor, 5 damage, swift, and poison, and then gives you 7 fame for defeating him. Here we've got the fire dragon, 7 armor, fire resistance, and physical resistance, 9 fire attack, 8 fame for defeating him. I feel like that should be a little bit higher. Here we've got the ice dragon, 7 armor, Ice and physical resistance, deals 6 ice damage, and has paralysis. Gives you 8 fame. And the big bad in the entire game, the High Dragon. 9 armor, fire and ice resistance, 6 cold fire attack with the brutal ability. This guy is a true terror to deal with. You get 9 fame for defeating. The final thing we're going to look at today is the ruins. And right here, we've got 2 different kinds of ruins. One set of ruins, which you see here, you're going to sacrifice some of your mana and just gain fame. So here, you sacrifice 3 blue mana, get 7 fame, 3 white mana, 3 green mana, and 3 red mana. All those give you 7 fame. Those are pretty easy. A little bit difficult to obtain that much mana, but if you know what you're doing, you can do it without too much trouble. The other kind, you're going to be facing enemies in order to get a reward. So this one right here, and by the way, with each of this kind right here, there is 1 for each color. So 4 total, but 1 for each color. There's one of these right here, which you're going to face 2 Orcs, and then you will get 1 of each color mana. This one right here, you face a gray and purple enemy, and you get an advanced action for defeating them. Here you face a brown and purple enemy, and you're going to get a spell, and then 1 of each mana type, 1 of each mana crystal. And here you're going to face an Orc and a brown enemy, and get a artifact, which really, the artifacts are the ones that are really worth going after, in my opinion. Here you got a gray and brown enemy for 1 artifact. Here you've got an Orc and a Dracona for an artifact and an advanced action. Here you've got a gray enemy and a white enemy for a artifact and a spell. And man, if you can pull this one off right here, brown enemy and Dracona for 2 artifacts, well, you're doing really well at that point. So there you have it. That's everything as far as the enemies and ancient ruins in Mage Knight. Hope you enjoyed the video. I do want to point out that Mage Knight is for sale by my sponsor, diceygoblin.com. Go check that out over there. They have a pretty good price on it right now, I do believe. If you like my videos, please give them a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. You can find me on board, or you can find me on Twitter at boredoffline. I'm on Board Game Geek. I'm on Board Game Link, so give me a heart over there. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.